So I'm going to welcome back to the stage Ben Trinh, Life Ready Physio and Pilates. Can we have a round of applause for Ben, please? Welcome back, Demi Markogiannaki of We Teach Me. Thank you, Demi. And Kim Hyun of We Teach Me as well. Welcome back, Kim. So, how was that for you, Kim, sitting in the audience this evening? What did you think?
Tonight was one of the best nights we've had in season 3 for me.
Yeah.
Just the stories that were being shared really touched my heart. So thank you for that. I have a question actually for both of our speakers tonight. One of the things you said, Ben, was that it's nice to have a moment where you can sit back and just reminisce. Tell us a bit more about that.
Sorry. Yeah, I was just saying to Kim just then, one of the challenges that Jess and I have as business partners is just sometimes taking time to pause and reflect and to celebrate the wins. Because the problem we're all chasing and trying to solve in our business can also be all-consuming, and sort of taking that pause and building a rhythm to reflect really deepens gratefulness and really deepens your contentment with what we have and what we're fortunate enough to be doing. So yeah, that's what I meant by that. So I was really humbled by your story and even reflecting on my own.
And Demi?
Yeah. I don't know how often you have time to actually think of the past and what you have achieved and what you've done well, but definitely there is this feeling of being grateful, because we often hear so many bad stories. We got started with so many other startups at the same time that we did. There were all these friends starting, and because it was a new thing, I guess, in Melbourne, we got to meet so many other founders and so many other businesses, and lots of them do not exist anymore. And just thinking about it and how much effort they put into what they were trying to achieve, it makes me feel very grateful that I'm still here, that I still have a business, and I guess we've achieved what we have achieved so far.
And there was a story you shared, Ben, which particularly stood out in my mind, where you talked about the moment where you shared with your wife what was happening in your business, and you shared the moment where she came in after walking out of the room for 5 minutes. That story was so visceral for me. I could feel it, I could imagine it. Demi, do you have a similar story? And then after Demi's response, I'd like to circle back to you and have you share another story.
A moment when you basically thought that, this is the moment of where it's all coming to an end and you've got to do this. Is there any moment where you've had to dig yourself out of something where you've been so low that
Yeah, I think Kim is fishing because he was already answers that it's been amongst us. It's been so many times I'm I give up. I can't do this anymore. I don't have any money. We're saying, I would say, how homeless are you? This week, how homeless do you feel? It's just that feeling that, okay, I have enough money to pay my rent. I have enough money to eat something. It's just that feeling that, am I gonna make it this month? That we've been so much through it, and feeling that, how do all these people take holidays that much, and how is everyone having such a good time and I'm not? And yeah, we felt it so many times, but I think in Ben's case, it's having a family also to support. I can only imagine how devastating that would be. Cause actually I don't even have a dog here. I'm just I just need to fend for myself, which is okay.
Kim has 2 dogs.
Yeah, Kim has a few more dogs, but I think that was, I have felt very upset financially a lot of times. And you also just don't want to call your parents and say, hey guys, I think you might need to support me for a while. That would be something that I'll probably be really hard for me to do it. But I guess, again, it's a situation that we have found ourselves quite often in it, both giving up and financial stress, I guess.
Ben.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, that moment was so visceral because it was, every time I tell it, it's like I'm reliving it. It's really real. And actually, it was transformative for our business because it was the first time that I realized there's really no work-life separation. It's just life. And my wife, I made a commitment when I married her that she was important, and she was the first thing actually above the business. And so what we did with our first bit of savings, earning no money, was go to Bali for 3 days, and I actually just explained the business, the org charts, built forecasts, walked her through. But what I did was build a forecast that connected to our personal life. So she was able to see how the business actually aligned with our family direction and our family vision. And having her, I just thought she wasn't interested, but actually having her come along the journey changed everything for me. It gave me all the strength that I needed, and also knowing that she could see how it connected was really powerful. And that's a routine, a rhythm now that we keep to this day. So every year in July, we'll go away for a week off the grid, and we'll write our family vision and strategy for the year and personal direction, income we need to earn, and she gets to say that. But then I have my board meeting, my annual board meeting after with my investors, and I'll say, these are the non-negotiables. This is what I need this year. And they actually prefer that because then I'm honest and laying it all on the table, and then we can work around that, work toward a strategy, and keeping the two in alignment. It's really powerful. If you're asking for another story, I think recently one that I can think of immediately is my son. It becomes very hard to be an entrepreneur with a young family because you naturally want to give your kids everything. You want to do all this and that, and you're going, Jess and I look at each other. I remember this moment of, how come our employees can get a bigger loan for a house than we can? Because we own a business, and the bank's like, you're too unstable. It's like, oh, come on. But I remember I remember watching this, I think it was on TED or something, but the CEO of Pepsi, I think, she was talking about a transformative moment in her life was when she went into her dad's office, who was a busy guy, and asked him, was just talking something, and he would always close his laptop or book and just give her his full attention. And what I took out of that, I was sharing with Linda, was I realized that it's not about me building my business to a point where we can just not work. I actually enjoy pursuing something significant, but it's about modeling for my kids, for Joshua and Caleb, that I'll always choose them despite what I'm pursuing and what's significant, that they're more important. Because if I had nothing else to pursue, then that would have no meaning. If I was just unemployed and hanging out with them all the time, it would be less meaningful. But for them to see every night I'm home for dinner, on weekends I don't work, even though I could be endlessly working, is really powerful. And the other day, Joshua, he was sharing one with Linda. We were going on a date night, and he said, Daddy, why do you guys go on date nights? I said, one day when you're older, you're going to have a date night with your wife. And he goes, no, Dad, I don't want to leave our family. We have the best family. And he said, when I'm older, I want to do business like you. And it was a silly moment. He's probably just saying stuff to make me not go. But I was like, oh, well, I am modeling something where he has a positive view of business, as opposed to a lot of my friends who really see business as something that tore their parents away. And so that was a recent visceral moment. That was only this year. That really just captured me.
Thank you. And one thing that really jumped out at me was you guys have been both generous about opening the kimono, so to speak, and being vulnerable and sharing these moments. You both have highlighted times when things were difficult. I'm curious about what kept you moving past those obstacles and those moments of difficulty. I'd like to ask Demi first, and then Ben will jump over to you.
Yeah. Mainly, I guess the support of the people around me. Just sometimes it feels that maybe emotionally you can't move beyond that moment, and you just want to sit down and not get up again. But just seeing the people around you that support you, and even the ones that believe in you, it's a powerful feeling, I think. So that to begin with, and also, I guess that's always something more that drives you, whether that is ambition or the will to do something different, to be challenged. I don't think business is for everyone. I think you need to have that kind of personality that will recover or adapt quite well to the situation you're in. I think every time that I can remember having a breakdown or like a meltdown where I just feel that I can't continue, is just a moment, and it doesn't go forever. It's just that feeling of heaviness, but then something always gets me up, and that something is the idea that I have to continue, and I have to continue for the people that supported me, for the people that believed in me, for myself. And I think that's powerful, and it's great to have it, and I hope like more people feel about it. I don't know if this is unique in me, maybe Ben has like something similar, but it would be that, at least that's what I can think. It drives me. It makes me wanna leave something behind, like make an impact, change the way things are, but at the same time change myself, to challenge myself, become a better person, tougher, and continue. So I think resilience is part of who I am, I guess.
Yeah, I alluded to it a little bit at the end of my talk on hope and vision. For me, I think just taking the time to define what your business means to you, and I think who and that when you're in that place of suffering or hardship, having that hope of the future is a powerful thing, because it gives meaning to your suffering. Because we live in a society that's that the overarching story of our society is individualism and hedonism, which is, it's all about me as an individual, but hedonism is all about me and my pleasure. So what's right is what's pleasurable. But in business, we have to rewrite the story, because that's not true. I'm in business, and I'm not going to go into whether it's universally true, but in business, suffering is actually good. It's what brings out the gems, it's what builds character, it's where you get your learnings, it's where you humble yourself. And so I'd say, in addition to hope, it's kind of about reframing our thinking around suffering. It's a good thing. And I love what Demi said about listening, being an active listener in that period of time. So when I have this natural rhythm now with the sufferings, when I'm in that dump place, it's, how can I listen better to really draw out and learn, fail fast, basically, to really get through this as fast as I can and get the gems out of it. And that often helps. And the third thing is community. I love that you guys have a great business partnership, because I think of my business partner. There's so many times where I'm terrible, she's good. We do something in our company called red flags. So for all our board members and partners, we talk about what are your warning signs that you're burning out, that you're going to crash and burn, and we give each other permission to call each other out on it. So for me, I become really aggressive to new ideas, just because it's extra work, and she just knows what to do now. She's like, are you meditating, are you praying, are you spending time, getting to yourself, reading, and for her, she'll just be going so hard and just break out in acne. That's her thing. I'm like, your skin's not looking great. I think you need some time, and we've built in rhythms around each other to make sure that so that helps us going really practically. That sounds terrible. I hope she doesn't listen. But just giving each other that permission to be vulnerable and support each other through it. You can't do it alone. Even if you own your own business by yourself, your employees, you've got to lay it all on the table, I think. Yeah.
Awesome answers, guys. I think we're going to put this out to the audience now. Kim, what do you think?
Why not?
Yeah. So, does anybody have a question for our founders this evening? Don't be shy. Lady on the left there.
Hi, my name's Holly. So for either of you, from probably a bit more for Danny. I'd say, when is that time when you know you're going to go full time, or were there any specific triggers or things that happened that made you go, I'm going to go full time?
Yes. So first, we knew that we have something because people were willing to pay for it. It was just a matter of dedicating time and like just going full force on it. So that was the first indication. I wouldn't say there is ever a right time to do it. I think it's just a calculated risk. Obviously, you don't want to find yourself having no money, no support, and like saying, okay, I decided to go full time on an idea that's not working. For us was, okay, how much money do we have on the bank? How, like, do I, obviously, like having started something and saying, okay, probably like in a few months I'll be able to find something else if this is not going to happen. And also, it is a risk, but it's a calculated risk. It's more of a, I know I have this runway, I know my business can make money, it is a business, people want to buy the services, and then saying, right time or not right time, I'm up. I'm going for it. And if it doesn't work, it didn't work, it would be a great learning experience. I have all these, I guess, gems, as you said before, like things that I got out of it, and if I appear in the next job interview, I will be able to say, this is what I learned from my experience. So that's how I saw it, and I justified it at that point. But I don't think there is always like questions where you say, okay, is this the right thing? Is this business gonna make money? There's always a reason to say no. You just have to do it.
Yeah, I didn't actually share, but I worked part-time at another practice when I started also. And for me, it was more of a decision of, I'm a bit different. I'm probably less thoughtful. It's more, what's the least amount of money I can live off? and I kind of said, okay, I can work that out. And am I willing to, I think it was at a point for me in the business going, like it was a month in, it was kicking great goals. And I was like, okay, I was keeping my other job for security. And I just said, I don't think I could live with myself. Like, when's the right time to do the right thing? And I always think yesterday, you know? And I think I'd rather go all in when I didn't own a house. I still lived at home. I wasn't married at the time. And I was like, this is probably the right time just to get going. So my process is almost, how much can you sacrifice, and you engineer it around that. And practically speaking, get your business to the point that it can provide you for your baseline. At the time, it happened to be zero for me because I lived at home. But I was talking to Jason Smith once from Back in Motion, and he and I know each other quite well, and he said to me, what you did was utterly stupid if you had a family. And it is, because at the time I was like, some weeks I was on $100. If I had 2 other people to feed, that would have been negligent. So depending on your season of life, kind of engineering around what's the minimum you can earn. And then working out whether you can actually attain that, and how long are you going to fight that for. But I think you'll never know if you don't go all in at some point. Yeah?
Great question. Anybody else out there? Gentleman at the front.
This is a question for the both of you. What do you think is the greatest challenge or when starting a business?
I think the greatest challenge is, look, it's going to be different for every person, but I think the greatest challenge for me was just deciding to start a business, and deciding that there was a moment where I would regret not knowing more than I'd regret going and failing. And once you're over that hurdle, I mean, everything else is hard, but the hardness doesn't get easier thereafter. But that's probably the first one. Get the car driving and then see if you can steer it, you know.
Okay. That's a quite interesting question for me, because I think starting a business is really hard regardless. Like, it comes to the point where you're questioning whether what you have, your idea, is going to ever be a business. I think what's the most difficult thing is stop analyzing and start doing. Coming from a background where I've studied for a long time, I had this framework in my mind where I had to like analyze everything and then analyze it again and then question it and second guess it and then analyze a little bit more and not do a lot of things. The hardest thing was to completely stop thinking like that and start saying, what do I need to do? Am I ready for it? No, I'll do it regardless. Even if it's not perfect, even if it's just the minimum I could do, I'll put it out there, I'll ask people, I will go out and question, maybe I don't have a script about what exactly I'm gonna say to the person that I'm gonna cold call, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pick up the phone and maybe I'll be a bit weird at the beginning, but eventually I'll just do it. And you know, I'll keep doing it up until I'll be good at it. It's never a good time, it's never the right time, it's just whether you do it or not. So I do get a lot of people that come to me and they say, I have an idea. And I know that everyone has an idea, but the person who's gonna have the business out of that is gonna be the person who's gonna execute on this idea. The person who's gonna analyze is gonna be 50 years old and still gonna be analyzing. It doesn't matter how many books you're gonna read about this idea, it doesn't matter how much you're gonna think about it, how many notebooks you're gonna fill with like bullet points and things about the things that you need to do. The first thing that you need to do is actually do something.
On that point, I just want to add something. I remembered, as she was talking, I remembered, it's similar to my wife asking me, when are you going to be ready to have kids? And I'd reached a point where I realized, when is a good time to lose sleep, lose money, and add burden to my life? You know, realistically, I was never going to be ready. And we were driving for a long drive one weekend, and she was so ready. Like, I was just like, what the heck? We've been married 1 year. Like, what's going on? This is not the plan. And then she said, okay, we've got to travel here. Your business has to be the X amount. We started listing all this stuff. And there was just this moment where we were like, why are we reverse engineering the most important thing we'll ever do around these little things like traveling and the business? What precedent are we setting in our lives, in our framework of thinking? So we kind of said, let's just have kids because you're ready and you're important to me, and back ourselves that we're resourceful enough to work it out along the way. And you can still function for some reason on 3 hours sleep for a short period of time, surprisingly. So, you know, that just reminded me of that moment. Similar of giving birth to a business, really, realistically. Just back yourself, I think, and that you're resourceful enough to work it out.
Awesome. I think there's a few hands. Yeah, gentleman in the blue there.
Have you guys ever had to reconsider your vision and hope? And should it remain concrete during your whole business life?
I believe our view of it is the vision changes, but your values never change. So our who never changes, our why never changes. Our fundamental worldview and dogma doesn't change, but our vision has to change because, frankly, I wouldn't have been able to imagine what our business is today 8 years ago because I didn't have the knowledge to know what it could look like. And so often we can be too close-handed with our vision. But Life Ready's vision is a collection of input from all our staff. And the vision has morphed into something far more beautiful than I could have imagined because of the collaboration of all our people. And I mean, we have practical processes and stuff of how we actually apply, do that. But yeah, so every year it's different, frankly. But who we are is the same. Our mission's the same, and we're, and what our BHAG, our big, hairy, audacious goal, is the same. So if you read Jim Collins' Good to Great, but the vision, as in the 5 to 10 years, what the company might look like when that happens, it just changes as we learn and grow. But we have a process for that, so it doesn't change every week. It's an annual thing.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's the same for us. The vision changes. A lot of things change. I think as well, like the values are being reinforced. Sometimes you just look into your values and because the team meetings is what sets pretty much what we want to achieve. And sometimes like someone will come up and be like, this can be told a bit in a different way, or what about this? And then we can just make sure we're inclusive. We take into consideration the feedback from our team members, what they're looking for. who we are. And as we grow, as more and more people are becoming part of the team, we just make sure that we expand, we're flexible, but the core remains the same.
Awesome. Gentleman here, and then we'll go to the back.
Because the world's kind of digital right now, do you guys foresee a bunch of everyone being a startup or everyone being a freelancer of some sort and see what the world will look like after that? Because you guys are doing success stories in yourself, right? And once you learn and feel that, you know that this is something everyone else will do. But you guys, how do you feel the future's going to be?
I don't think everyone should and could do this because we're all, the art of household management when you think of society. Everyone's got different functions and different skills and different values, but not everyone's worth a beautiful amount. But you can't all be leaders because then it doesn't really make sense. But I would say we are all leaders of something and we're all writing a story. And in that sense, we are all entrepreneurs in some way, shape or form. But the skill set of running a business, I'm not sure everyone should or could do. And that's okay as well. That's not a bad thing. You commented on the world being digital and everyone having the opportunity to, I guess, have more autonomy and earn income through different means. I think that's exciting. Artificial intelligence, blockchain technology, all this stuff is really exciting. I mean, it's scary because it's unknown, but for a business like ours, it's more about how do we explore how that could help each of our people self-actualize. And so for Physio, as an example, it's full of entrepreneurs because a lot of the way the industry kind of operates, a lot of physios just run their own thing and work out of multiple locations. For me, the joy is, so we always ask all our staff 2 questions when they start. Who do you want to be and what is that person doing? And they can never answer that question, really rarely. Who do you really want to be? That's your values, and what is that person doing? And then we monetize that. How do they earn income? And we come alongside them. So, but for them, that's just having autonomy and to earn income. I think that's a little bit, and that's a journey that I see as an entrepreneur that I love, where I get to see that manifest in others and they get to do that with their patients. So in that sense, I can see that as a possibility, but I couldn't speak to every other industry. But yeah.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it's an exciting world, and I would love to see how the world will be in 20 years from now, or like 30 years. I think it's exciting times that everything is going digital, and there's so many opportunities and so many startups popping up, because I guess like the major value of a company that is a startup is to just innovate, disrupt, and change. And there is a market for change, and there is a market for, there is, I guess, a ground for like different digital companies and startups and disruption. But as I said, like we started with a lot of different companies, and not every company is destined to succeed or like leave, I guess, after like 6 months or a year or even 2 years. But it's exciting to see the appetite for disruption, the appetite for change, and I guess the world looking for a better tomorrow.
Actually, I just thought of, someone said to me once, if you could do something else, then you're not called to be an entrepreneur. So, because it's a big calling, you know, we're called to serve those who trust their livelihoods to us. And if you could do something else, you should do that. That's because it's not an easy life. And that's what an experienced business guy once said to me, and that was a really good advice for me to take forward when I decided whether I was going to do this. Yeah.
Excellent. We've maybe got time for maybe 2 more questions, and we'll bring it back into myself and Kim for a final question. So I think maybe the 2 that put the hands up there. So the gentleman who's been quite eager with the suit jacket on there.
Both of you have incredible clarity of thought process, incredible self-awareness. I know you are sitting here, but both of you are quoting each other what was spoken 15 or 20 minutes back. My question to you is that it's been a journey over a period of time. What is the main thing, I'm trying to understand your mindset, what is the main thing which brings such a clear thought process? Was it your mentors? Was it faith forward attitude? Or was it just the experience? What is the main thing what you would attribute to such a clear thought process?
So you're asking what was the main thing that enabled us to have a clear mindset to pursue, our business? Is that correct? Yeah, I mean, I think I'll frame the question, what are the main kind of things you need to be able to do that in hindsight? Because I wouldn't say I had it before. But I think if I were to choose one starting point, it would be a disposition of humility. Because Jess and I, we were new grads when we started the business, and we didn't realize how much that impacted the business culture. Because as new grads, you're trained that you know nothing. So you have no shame in asking for help because you just come from a university environment where everyone needs to help each other and so we were just like no shame, asking for help, really latching onto feedback, really spending time, Jess is a family of psychologists, she would spend a lot of time reflecting, and so would I, and deepening our self-awareness. That humility, you need that humility though to be open-minded to other things. And I think from that, you also need to be an action person. It's all great to be a philosopher and sit there and learn about the world and how you're terrible or how you could be good or better. But if you don't make that tangibly real in your life, then you're not going to be on that journey towards self-actualization. So I think, that's, if I were to choose one thing, and then probably very closely, the first book we read as a business together was called Quiet Leadership. And Jess chose the book because I think she was trying to passive-aggressively push me into something. As in, shut your mouth and start listening. Not hearing, but actually, that's not something I was naturally good at. And it's not being quiet. It's actually, hearing what someone's saying and engaging in their conversation, empathizing with them. So I think listening and humility, I guess they go hand in hand, and applying it.
I agree a lot on the second point, like you definitely need to do more than you say. On the first one, I've met people that are quite arrogant and they've have successful businesses, so I'm not sure how humble can someone be. But I would break it to you to say I don't think I've ever had a clear mindset about the business or business mindset in itself. I think I just tried to do whatever I could do best within that environment. I tried to focus and solve problems and do the best based on my values. I like people, I like servicing people, I guess, so it's the right industry that I'm in. But I think it's more resilience that makes it, like a person that is fragile and quite sensitive is going to have a really hard time. And I think I started as that, but I don't feel like that anymore.
I definitely agree on the resilience.
Like you definitely need to consider that this is not going to be, you would be very naive to think, I'm going to start a business, wow, it's going to be all amazing, I'm going to have a great lifestyle, this is going to be so much to deal with. It's just a big journey and it comes there for the long term, because no business is an overnight success. No business is an overnight success. It's all built with a lot of sacrifice, a lot of effort, a lot of work, a lot of doing things that sometimes will break you.
Great question. So final question, lady at the front here.
Do you have any tips on organisation, planning, and just prioritising what you need to do to get yourself forward, like being disciplined in a sense?
Okay. Yes, so there are two aspects on this question that get organized. I think it's a skill people have or they don't. If you can get organized, you might learn how to be a bit more organized, but you'll never be a hardcore person in terms of organization. So the answer to that is get a PA or hire someone that can help you, or get your mom or someone that is close to you to just help you do that. Because I think it's better if you build on your strong points rather than on the ones that you're not doing well. If you have like too many things to do, choose the top 3 things that will make a great impact in what you're trying to achieve and stick to these. Because the more things you have, if you're not extremely organized, the more you're going to be like looking around saying, oh my God, I don't have any time to do anything. So that's my 50 cents on that, being not extremely organized myself, admittedly. And then the second thing is, I guess, like, how much did you say about the lifestyle? Like, how do you motivate yourself to do more?
Yeah, I guess just staying disciplined, you know,
Yeah.
like.
With the stay disciplined, I guess there are 2 things. Like, I think people who do not reward themselves eventually get burnt out. I think listen to your body is a very great thing to be able to do. Like, there's people who are really, really focused on what they do, and they forget to eat, they forget to sleep, they forget that they have a family, they forget that they have a husband or a partner or things like that, and that's a very bad thing to do. Listen to what your body says. If you need to sleep more, you will be a lot more productive when you wake up and you will be rested. When it comes to staying motivated, usually you're not motivated about the things that you don't want to do. If there's something that you really want to do, you'll be very motivated to wake up tomorrow, pack your bags and go to Bali. I'm sure you'll be very motivated. It's usually, now if I make you cold call like 10 people tomorrow, you're probably not going to be as motivated. You'll be like, maybe I have to like vacuum my living room first, or try and find something else to procrastinate. So usually saying that, getting over that first thing that blocks you and say, it's 10, I'm just going to sit, I'm going to be here for an hour, I'm not going to let myself get distracted, and then have something that would be rewarding at the end would be very helpful. So I think the things that usually don't motivate you are the things that you don't want to do, or the things that you are scared to do. So recognizing the patterns would help you get where you want to be.
I'm a sort of an organized chaos person. I'll probably just share what I do, and you take what will apply for you necessarily, because I don't think it'll work for everyone. And I'm a top-down person, so I live my life in themes, and the business direction is usually just a business version of my personal theme. But like, and what that looks like is every July on my birthday, since we started the business, I take 2 weeks off. Linda and I sit down together and clear my whole diary, and we then order who we want to be and what the person is doing around the hats that we wear. So what that looks like is my first hat, in order of priority. So for me, number 1 is taking care of myself, and for her as well. Number 2 is her. Number 3 is kids. Number 4 is CEO. Number 5 is whatever else I'm doing, volunteer work, whatever, fitness, friendships, family, whatever, extended family. And then we populate the calendar with rhythms. She does it with me, that reflect that for this season of our lives. So what that looks like is basically when's date night first. And it's not about quantity of time, it's about priority of time, so permissions. So if I want to change something that I've agreed with her, I have to go through her. And that gives her the respect that she's more important than work. And I fit our board stuff in and our work stuff in around that. So, and then we populate our diary. I normally leave with a diary that's 70% full and work just fills up, like 30% full and work fills up the rest. Yeah, I'd never bother putting in work because it's going to fill it up. And then ongoing, we have micro routines that we hold each other accountable to. So on a daily basis, we wake up at 6 a.m., do our meditation and reflection, and then get the kids at 7, and then you get on with your day or whatever, and then we always get home by 5:30 p.m. for dinner, and then I might do some emails thereafter and get on with my night. So kind of making pre-decisions on how we want our life to look, so it becomes our true north for that stage of our lives and our business. And I think just around that being organized, I think when I always ask myself 2 questions: what are the things that energize me? Or to frame that question differently, what are the things that I do when I'm tired at work? And that should just be my job. And as the company grew, my goal was to slowly trim away. So for me, I hate spreadsheets. I was our CFO for 9 months, and I taught myself accounting and banking, and it was the worst 9 months of my life. But I could do it, but it destroyed me. And when I was tired, I just can't read the contracts. I can't do that. But when I'm energized, I could do it. When I'm tired, I didn't. So I realized I got to get rid of that. But when I'm tired, when I go to work, I'll just fill my diary with meetings. Because I love talking to my staff, seeing how they're going. I enjoy that, So it's like I'm justified. So I realized that should be my job, really. Like talking to the guys, listening, making sure things are done. Whereas Jess, my business partner, would gear towards building processes when she's tired. So, and that was a good way to give a system, long-term system, to how to slowly change my routine. But at the beginning, I will say, you do everything, or most of it. And I think it's made me a better CEO now because I've done everything to 40%, because I deeply appreciate every single one of my staff, because I can remember sitting there doing exactly what they were doing, far worse than they were doing it. Yeah. So I would encourage you to just, whatever rhythm works for you around, but actually building a calendar rhythm in place so that you actually do it. I think that's fairly important. Yeah.
Great answers. Thank you. So Kim, maybe final question. I can sense that you're itching to answer or ask one more.
So many questions. Okay. You both talk about stories, the importance of stories, your story and your business's story and the story people know you for. What is the story that you want the world to know you for?
Such a deep question, Kim. Jeez.
What's your favorite color?
My story, and it's funny you ask, I've only recently articulated this, like what I feel called to do with my life is to challenge narratives by piquing curiosity through how I live and through how a business runs. And so when you look at Physio, there was just this story. Every clinic did the same thing. They all ran the same way. There were these industry assumptions. What I really enjoyed was, achieving the same outcomes but doing it a different way, and piquing curiosity because of that. And I love that about our staff, them coming in and me asking, who do you want to be and what's that person doing? And they go, but what's my job? I'm like, whatever you want it to be. How many hours do I work? How many hours do you want to work? What's, like, how long do I treat my patients? How long do you want to treat your patients? And they go, stop it! Like, just tell me what to do. But I love that moment where they realize they can explore themselves, and you can achieve great outcomes and be happy working 20 hours a week for some, and for others. So yeah, the story I want to be known for is helping others write their story by piquing their curiosity. Yeah.
Such a deep question. It's like, okay, the story I want to be known for. I think it's outside business for me. It's mainly inspiring people to achieve things, to believe that things are possible. I started business questioning whether things are possible, and I proved to myself that they are. I came from a country that is on the other side of the earth. I have nothing to do with the Australian reality, I guess. I have no family here. Like, my support network was back in Greece, major support network. I have no idea about business. I have a quite strong accent. I am a woman. I can tell you all the things that someone could tell me. saying that what I've done is not possible. If any of you living today thinking that your dream cannot be possible because of the things that define you as a person, could just change that narrative, as you said, and believe in yourself and live and go and try what you really want to achieve, and first believe in yourself, then I guess that's the story that I want to achieve and be remembered for.
Fantastic answers. So we're going to leave it there. So thank you very much for our guest speakers this evening.